Opening scene. At 1740 Eastern Time on June 21, 2025, a 30,000-pound steel and explosive warhead plunged through the Iranian night at 700 miles per hour. In just 43 seconds, the GBU-57 Massive Ordnance Penetrator smashed through 200 feet of reinforced concrete and granite, turning the Fordo nuclear enrichment facility into rubble. Built deep underground to survive conventional attacks, Fordo was about to learn why some targets don't walk away from American precision. How this bomb ended up there is the result of one of the most sophisticated and well-coordinated military operations in over 2 decades. 18 hours earlier, Whiteman AFB. At Whiteman Air Force Base, ground crews rushed to prepare one of only 19 operational B-2 Spirits. Each bomber costs $2.1 billion, more valuable than its weight in gold. The crew chief checked off a critical list: 14 GBU-57s loaded onto rotary launchers, 180,000 pounds of JP, 8 fuel and conformal tanks, and the APQ-181 radar system set to full stealth. At 0:01 Eastern Time, June 21st, the first B-2 began its 12,400-foot roll down the runway. Its 4 General Electric F-118 engines, producing 17,300 pounds of thrust each, lifted the 336,500-pound aircraft silently into the night. The pilot climbed its shallow angle to reduce the infrared signature. Even Allied satellites were to see as little as possible. Deception in the sky. But not all B-2s were bound for Iran. 7 headed east, while another group flew west toward the Pacific. The plan: confuse Russian and Chinese satellites into tracking the Western group and drawing attention toward Guam. Meanwhile, the real strike package slipped east across the Atlantic. Mid-air refueling, no margin for error. The first aerial refueling occurred around 4 o'clock over the mid-Atlantic. A task difficult by day becomes a high-stakes dance by night. The B-2 had a hold position, 30 feet behind, 15 feet below the KC-135 tanker, with 0 deviation. A single misstep could damage the aircraft and force it to abort. As the pilot flew with precision, the boom operator guided fuel at 1,000 pounds per minute, tense, focused, and freezing in the stratosphere. Final approach: air superiority secured. By 15:30, after 2 more refuelings and over 15 hours in the air, the bombers neared Iraqi airspace. Then 4 F-22 Raptors appeared, their APG-77 radars scanning everything within 200 miles while staying virtually undetectable. The lead Raptor transmitted a brief coded message: Disco 47, sweet picture, clean, no factor. The skies were clear. Armed with 6 AMRAAMs and 2 Sidewinders each, the Raptors were ready for any Iranian fighter bold enough to launch. Behind them, 8 F-35s provided support. Against 2 squadrons of stealth fighters, Iran's Air Force stood no chance. Target: Fordo facility. At 18:39 local time, the lead B-2 began its attack run. The GPS-guided targeting system linked with multiple satellites to achieve pinpoint accuracy within 5 feet. The rotary launcher spun into position, preparing to drop the first MOP. Beneath lay the Fordo site, buried under 300 feet of granite that's existed since the Stone Age. In less than a minute, the U.S. would alter the terrain forever. Meanwhile, far from Fordo, 2 hours earlier, at 1700 hours Eastern Time, and 1,200 miles away, a U.S. Navy captain stood in the control room of a guided missile submarine, likely the USS Georgia. Once a ballistic missile sub armed with nuclear tridents, Georgia had been converted into an SSGN at a cost of $700 million. Now, instead of 24 nuclear missiles, she carried 154 Tomahawk land attack missiles, more than the combined missile load of an entire carrier strike group. Each Tomahawk Block V missile could deliver a 1,000-pound warhead with surgical precision up to 1,500 miles away. Underwater launch, quiet but violent. At periscope depth, about 60 feet below the surface, Georgia was vulnerable. Her and /BBS, 1 photonics mast barely broke the surface, but Iranian radar was scanning the wrong waters, focused on the Persian Gulf instead of the deeper ocean where she waited. Launching a Tomahawk isn't cinematic, it's brutal physics. The missile is ejected from its tube by gas pressure, shooting to the surface at 50 feet per second. Once clear, its booster ignites, launching it into the night. But Newton's third law doesn't take sides. Firing a 3,000-pound missile creates a violent reaction inside the sub. Every launch reveals position, however briefly, and strains the hull. But the reward is devastating. Impact. Back at Fordo, granite designed to withstand 10,000 psi met forces 10 times greater. It didn't just crack, it vaporized. The submarine wants to dive, and the ballast control team must respond quickly, shifting water between trim tanks to maintain depth. Too slow, and the boat surfaces, exposing itself to radar for 50 miles. Too fast, and it dives below safe limits. At 16:05 Eastern Time, the first Tomahawk missile bursts through the ocean surface. Its solid rocket booster fires for 12 seconds, propelling it to 550 miles per hour before detaching. Then, a small Williams F-107 turbofan engine takes over, cruising the missile at high subsonic speeds. By 16 hours 60 minutes, all 30 missiles are airborne. Each one flies low, sometimes just 100 feet above the ground, guided by radar altimeters and an advanced navigation system that compares satellite imagery with real-time visuals. Think of it as an unjammable, spoof-proof version of Google Maps. The missiles will reach Isfa in 127 minutes, arriving exactly 30 minutes before the B-2 bombers. Their job: hit hard first, disrupt defenses, and confuse the enemy before the main strike. While Iran's radars track stealth bombers at high altitude, 30 cruise missiles skim in undetected at treetop level. The sub's captain watches the missiles vanish beyond the horizon, each marked on a screen as a blue triangle with a countdown. The submarine's role in Operation Midnight Hammer is done, but the missiles are just beginning. These aren't just weapons, they're scouts. Thanks to the Block 5's two-way satellite link, they send back real-time images and targeting updates as they fly toward Isvastan. With her job done, the USS Georgia slips back to patrol depth, disappearing into the thermocline, where temperature shifts make sonar detection nearly impossible. Above, 30 missiles are racing toward history, and they're not alone. At 1600 hours Eastern, over 60 aircraft launch in a massive fighter sweep ahead of the B-2s. It's the biggest SEAD, suppression of enemy air defenses, operation since Iraqi freedom. 4 F-22 Raptors fly high at 50,000 feet. 8 F-35s cruise at 35,000. Below them, dozens of F/A-18 Super Hornets move at 25,000 feet, with 4 EA-18G Growlers providing electronic warfare support. More F-18s orbit over the Gulf, ready to assist. Tankers, KC-135s and KC-40SXS, loiter in Iraqi airspace, and an RC-135 Rivet Joint monitors every electronic signal within 500 miles. The F-35s are configured purely for air-to-air combat, carrying 4 AMRAAMs each. They serve as stealthy forward sensors. The SEAD power comes from 3 dozen Super Hornets, some loaded with HARMs, high-speed anti-radiation missiles, others ready for air combat or escort roles. With over 60 HARMs and 8 more aboard the Growlers, the force can neutralize every Iranian radar multiple times over, but will only fire what's needed. The F-35s locate radars. The Super Hornets and Growlers strike them. Meanwhile, the F-22s cover the skies, ready for any Iranian fighter that dares to launch. The strike group fans out across a 60-mile front, overlapping their electronic coverage. F-35s use their and /ASQ 239 suites to quietly map enemy defenses, feeding data through Link 16 to the Super Hornets, who engage from standoff range, preserving the F-35 stealth. 50 miles south, the Growlers unleash their electronic attack. Their Yelq 99 pods flood the spectrum with 30 kilowatts of jamming power each. Iranian radar screens flicker with ghosts, fake targets blinking in and out, erratic bearings, nonsense ranges. Chaos. At 1732, an S-300 battery near Natanz breaks radio silence. Its fire control radar activates, trying to see through the jamming. That's all it takes. An F-35 F-35 picks it up passively, relays the coordinates, and a Super Hornet launches an AGM-88G. A Growler jams it at the same time. The harm accelerates to Mach 2.5, its seeker memorizing the radar's last position. Even when the operators shut it off 15 seconds later, it's too late. GPS/INS guidance slams the warhead within 10 meters of the radar truck. The $100 million system is gone in a fireball. Super Hornets operate in pairs. One designates, the other fires. When mobilist A-15s try to relocate, F-35s track them via infrared, guiding quick strikes. The fusion of stealth and legacy platforms is deadly. F-35s find targets, Super Hornets hit them. By 1735, 31 harms have been used. An equal number of radars and SAM sites are destroyed. The rest go dark. Fear spreads faster than shockwaves. Iranian crews, trained to expect overwhelming U.S. air power, shut down and hide.